Nhìn vậy cái mụn này nó không có đầu á chị. Nó không có đầu rõ ràng giống cái mụn của em. Nhưng mà nó nằm ẩn ở dưới da. Rất là dày luôn. Có vài cái là nó có đầu thôi. Còn lại là không có đầu hết. Da bạn này nhờn quá vậy. Nên nó bít tắc hết cái lỗ chân lông ở trong á. Nó gây ra mụn ẩn này nè. Này vào uống hết á, là phải uống thuốc, bôi thuốc. Sinh hoạt, ăn uống cho kỹ. Cái mụn này mà nó bị sẽ biến chứng là ghê lắm á.
Ira Hayes, the forgotten flag raiser. The photograph of Marines raising the flag on Iwo Jima is one of the most iconic images of World War II. Among the men immortalized in that picture was Ira Hayes, a young man from the Pima tribe in Arizona. Ira had grown up in poverty on a reservation, where Native Americans faced discrimination and hopelessness. When war broke out, he enlisted in the Marines and fought bravely across the Pacific. On February 23, 1945, atop Mount Suribachi, he helped raise the American flag, an act that symbolized victory and inspired millions back home. But Ira's story didn't end with celebration. After the war, he returned to Arizona, only to find his people still living in poverty, their service unrecognized, their sacrifices ignored. He was paraded across the country as a war hero, yet he struggled with alcoholism and the pain of being a Native American in a nation that denied his tribe basic rights. Haunted by memories of the battlefield and broken promises at home, Ira Hayes died at just 32 years old. Bessie Coleman, the Sky Conqueror. At the dawn of the 20th century, airplanes were new and thrilling. But aviation was a world closed to women, and even more so to African Americans. Yet Bessie Coleman dreamed of flying. Denied admission to every flight school in America because of her race and gender, she refused to give up. She taught herself French, sailed across the Atlantic, and in 1921 became the first Black woman to earn a pilot's license, in Paris. Returning home, she stunned crowds with daring air shows, looping and diving her plane with fearless precision. Bessie used her fame not for money but for change. She refused to perform at events where Black audiences were segregated, declaring that equality would follow her into the skies. She planned to open a flight school for Black pilots, to break open the gates of aviation for those who would come after. Tragically, in 1926, she was killed in a plane crash during a test flight. She was only 34 years old, but her legacy soared higher than her short life, inspiring generations of Black aviators, including the famed Tuskegee Airmen of World War II. 9. Chester Nez, the original code talker. When World War II raged across the Pacific, the U.S. military faced a deadly problem. Japanese forces were breaking their codes, intercepting orders, and striking with deadly accuracy. Desperate for a solution, the Marines turned to an ancient language few outsiders understood, Navajo. Chester Nez, just 19 years old, was recruited along with 28 other young Navajo men. Together, they developed a code based on their language. A code so complex and unbreakable that it baffled the enemy for the entire war. From the beaches of Iwo Jima to the jungles of Guadalcanal, the code talkers transmitted orders at lightning speed, often under fire, never once compromised. Their contribution saved thousands of lives, yet their work was classified for decades. Chester Nez and his comrades returned home to silence. No parades, no recognition, not even the right to vote in many states, since Native Americans were still denied citizenship rights until 1948. It was not until 2001 that the code talkers were formally honored by Congress. Chester lived long enough to see his story told, but for most of his life, he carried the secret of his heroism quietly, just as he had carried his radio on the battlefield. 10. Doris Dory Miller, the cook who fought back at Pearl Harbor. On December 7, 1941, Japanese planes screamed over Pearl Harbor, bombs raining down on American battleships. A young Black sailor named Doris Dory Miller was serving breakfast on the USS West Virginia when the first explosion struck.